some people sneaking in the back. There's a little more food and coffee is settled in, a little noisier this time around. So we'll want to keep it right on track. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the Chancellor's Forum today, and welcome to Las Positas College. I see a few faces that I don't recognize, so let me introduce myself. I'm the interim president, Roanna Benny, here at Las Positas College, and we're just really delighted to have everyone on campus, where our doors are always open, and we always love to welcome new folks here. So thanks for being here, and we're also delighted to have Dr. Walter Tribley join us today for this forum. Before we formally welcome him to Las Positas College, let's take a few minutes to review our ground rules for this public forum. So we have several. We have 1 hour for our forum, and we will have about 15 minutes of general questions, and then another 25 minutes for audience questions, and we will ask the candidate also to provide opening and closing remarks for about 5 minutes each. So that's about how our hour will go. During the general questions that have been prepared, I will ask those questions. Okay, so we'll kind of get warmed up with the questions that I'll be asking, and then we'll give the candidate 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes at most to respond, and then there's a microphone. So if you would like to ask a question from the audience, just move to the microphone and don't be shy. You can go right down there. You can form a line if you would like to do that. We handled lots of questions, a whole variety of questions, so we're looking forward to those again as well. And when you do go to the mic, please be sure to start by sharing your name and your role in the district, and limit your questions to about 30 seconds, right? We don't want statements in our questions. We want questions, and we trust that everyone will be courteous in the manner in which they ask questions. We trust that'll be so. And then 5 minutes before the very end of our session, we'll ask our candidate to do some closing remarks. So also, in addition, when you entered the room, there was a public comment form. So I hope you picked one up on the way in, but if you didn't, they're available, so you can get them afterwards, and they will still be there if you want them. And then you complete the form before you leave the room, and you can hand it to our ACCT consultant, Jose, in the back there, and you'll have a big envelope to put them in anonymously. Or you have the option to complete the comments online, and the instructions are actually listed on the bottom of that form. So you can do it either way, but you get to choose between the ways that you do it. Can't do it twice. And then those forms need to be, or those online responses need to be done by the close of day tomorrow by 5 p.m. on Thursday. So the comments will be summarized, and they will be shared with the Board of Trustees to be included in their deliberations. So this matters. Our time together matters. So again, we thank you all for being here, and we would like to bring forward Dr. Tribley, and it's our pleasure to invite you to make an opening statement.
Hi. So,
actually, this is my job. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Are we live? Are we good? Okay. All right. Welcome. Thank you for coming today. What an exciting time for the Chabot Las Positas District, and certainly for Las Positas College today. Roanna, thank you so much for your graciousness. You and your hosts, you and your staff have been perfect hosts today, and certainly have made me feel welcome. So I hope you can get the best out of me today, right? So you can see what you're getting. So I was asked to give a brief introduction, and I was just now at Roanna, and tell the audience something about yourself. And I started thinking, there's the bios already out there. You can see degrees and things like that. So I come before you today. What I wanted to present was a sitting superintendent president of a California community college, one of your sister colleges. I understand the nuance the nuanced environment of working with a 5-member, in our district, a 5-member elected board of trustees, shared governance, our academic senate, our fabulous classified employees. We don't have a classified senate at Monterey Peninsula College, but we work with our classified union and the E-board, the exec board, in that manner when we need to. Monterey Peninsula College has had its share of challenges, and we've gone through those challenges, and we're fully reaffirmed in our accreditation. We've had some structural deficits to face, and we faced those challenges. Chabot-Las Positas will have its challenges with the new funding formula, and I'm no stranger to working collaboratively with all constituents, working very closely with our Board of Trustees and communicating as necessary, learning your communication styles, learning your culture. I'm not coming in with fixes. I don't have a preconceived, not one preconceived idea about something I would bring in and put in place. I want to listen and learn, stand on the strong experiences I've had, and help the district. I do think that my professional experience could be very beneficial to the Chabot-Las Positas district at this time, particularly given the changes in our funding formula. But I'm really excited about joining a group of professionals, community college educators and those who support them, that are so innovative. At this college alone, the work that you've done with accelerated English, the risk you took, putting all of those high school students into college-level English because they had a 2.5 GPA, and the award-winning work that you did was inspirational to all of us in the state. You're innovative. You take care of your veterans. You take care of those who need it the most. And I want to join people like that. And I want to help the district take it to the next level. Take the district and our colleges to the very next level of excellence as we address these things like funding formulas. We'll do that together. We have this. It's not going to stop the good work we do. A little bit about me personally. I wanted to present somebody that was able to come here and hit the ground running, and I come limping in with a cane. So my whole prop went out the window. So I've had a knee surgery. I'll be up. It's a total knee replacement. I'll be back on my road bike in about 4 weeks. So this is a temporary thing. I'm married and I have 3 children. And I know that that's not on topic, but I have 3 adult gals, and they're all employed all over the United States. Absolutely believe in the work we do. Whoever you select as your chancellor, the good work that we do as community college professionals, keep it up. There's no better work anywhere. You change lives, you change communities, you empower people, and this district is known for its innovation, and certainly Las Positas is a big part of that. So with that, I'll stop my impromptu introduction. Thank you, Lillian.
And I will begin the general questions. First, please share with us why you think you should be the next chancellor of Chabot-Las Positas Community College District.
Well, I think in part, going back to part of what I shared with you in my introduction, I am certainly not somebody that's coming in green. I understand the initiatives in the state of California. I understand how to work in the state of California. Beyond that, I have demonstrated experiences in both being very collaborative, being very participatory, and the ability to make a decision when all of the input is in, and sometimes those decisions are tough. I don't expect too many of those here. Again, not coming in with any preconceived ideas, but I think your chancellor needs to be somebody who, whoever you pick, is somebody who has been tested in that. It isn't saying, oh yes, I would, but somebody that's actually shown that, because that's the hard part. When everybody's hearing and we're all getting what we asked for, that's one type of, that's one work environment. But in challenging times, we have to make challenging decisions, and brave decisions, and courageous decisions. And as long as we have trust in each other and trust in our process, then we can get through those things. So I bring to you that type of experience. So I think I bring a resource there. Personally, going back to my introduction, I want to join this district because of your innovation, your excellence, and it's just a really exciting, vibrant place. Just the acceleration work that this district is known for, just that alone, and Puente, and certainly our veterans work that I've mentioned before, is really exciting. You know, AB 705. Now the rest of the world has to do what you've been doing. So you're an innovative group. I think that matches me and my personality, and I look forward to joining you.
Okay. Question number 2. Please give one specific example of how your management style has helped to move an initiative forward.
An example of that would probably be, I guess I'll use our AB 288 work that we have done, our dual enrollment work, and most recent, for those of you who may not be, as most of you I'm sure are, but some of you may not be, to basically think of college in the high school. We have always been able to teach high school students, offer them our courses, but this is in a privileged environment to just high school students, and then expanded to also the ability to teach basic skills. So my management style, first of all, I brought my experiences from my previous institution in the state of Washington, where we were doing college in the high school already, and quite extensively, and actually in an award-winning manner, with a small rural college, Bridgeport High School in Washington, that won third place in a national competition from President Obama for the work we did there. The students at that school, it is about 90 miles away from the main campus and at least 90 minutes away from any bricks and mortar institution of higher education. It's a migrant working community, primarily Latino. 100% of the students at Bridgeport High School qualified for free or reduced lunch. We had to make a decision. They have to travel to our college to take advantage of what we called up in that state, the dual enrollment here was running start. Well, they aren't going to get in a car and drive in the winter. So they were culturally and socioeconomically isolated from opportunity. So we brought college to the high school there. To your question, so I had that experience, but where I would have fallen flat, can you imagine, you know this person, comes into the room. I did this in Washington, so this is the way we're going to do this, right? That's just, you're not going to come out of the room with one class at one high school, right? So we called together all the stakeholders, and we listened with the intent to understand. And by doing that, I learned where each of those superintendents, all of those principals, where our faculty were on this very complicated issue of teaching high school kids college-level coursework out in high school. I mean, there's labor concerns, there's curricular concerns. So by listening first and listening deeply, people felt heard. But we also had a pace of work, because what I also heard is that they had an urgency. We have an urgency too, but the stakeholders had a real urgency. Superintendent of Schools at Monterey Peninsula Unified, Dr. Diffenbaugh, had just reimagined that one of their 3 high schools was going to be an early college high school and needed college courses that next fall, every freshman taking Monterey Peninsula College courses. So we also had to work with urgency. So to the question, so by listening deeply and getting those ideas on that chart, getting them out there and learning what the stakeholders wanted, we knew we needed an urgent response to a very important question. My experience in the past helped us with some of the ways we launched it, and we certainly got AB 288 off the ground, probably in a disproportionate size first year for a college, for our size college, and we have at least 700 students enrolled in AB 288 courses in its second year of operation.
Please describe your financial management experience.
So my financial management experience really, for those of you who are in these types of roles, as you're working in progressively increasing roles of responsibility in administration, or even as you're a faculty member coordinating a program. So I wrote a National Science Foundation grant when I was a biology faculty member at a community college. That's where I started my career in Florida. And so I had to manage that. That was the first budget I ever had to manage, was the one that I wrote. And I had it all spent before the budget officer knew we had the grant. So please, I'm sure that we don't do that anymore. So that was my first foray into the proper way of spending money at colleges and what you shouldn't be doing. So as I, in Wenatchee Valley College, went from director, associate dean, dean, and then vice president, it was all about making sure that I'm helping the faculty and their programs and the staff get the money that we need and put our resource requests out there and make sure they're well supported depending on your cultural norms for that budget development process. We in the California Community College system know that it has to be supported by program review and action plans, and all go back to those student learning or student support, student service outcomes. So that was my life for many, many years, and then staying within budget, right? Staying within budget. And then at Monterey Peninsula College, when I joined in 2012, we were the college was edging very closely to a financial cliff. So those of you who have looking around and seeing some in my, my experience demographic will recall the changes in the repeatability rules that hit in 2010, and then again first for repeated non-credit enrollments were no longer going to be funded, and then repeated credit enrollments. Well, Monterey Peninsula College was uniquely impacted by that decision. I understand why the legislature did that. Coming out of the Great Recession, if you're shutting down English classes for intercity kids in LA, you probably need to revise where your money is going. But that was 25% of the FTES that MPC was earning. So when I came in, I was faced with quite a steep decline in enrollment. We lost 2,300 FTS from 2008 to roughly last year. We've done some summer borrowing. You financial folks out there, I see you, the few of you, you have the bloodshot eyes, nodding your heads. Yeah, we did some. So you can't always just look at a year's FTS because it changes by how you push or pull your summer enrollments. That being said, so I've had a tough budget time. But through lots of consistently fiscally conservative practices, some strategic reductions, growth of programs, AB 288, CTE program growth, pushing growth where we could, and limiting any kind of reductions, restructuring our staff in the most humane way possible. When retirements happen, how are we going to, what faculty positions will we rehire? And we have a really wonderful faculty prioritization process that's anchored firmly with our faculty leadership that comes through in the form of a recommendation. But if I see a position that's going to then be back with the types of enrollments that the state's not going to be funding versus perhaps a basic skills math position or a basic skills English position as we move forward, those are the types of decisions that I had to make. So my management experience fiscally, in fact, we had quite a turnover in staff when I first arrived. We had a retirement. Unfortunately, I know some of you in the room remember Mr. Davis. He was my chief business officer. Unfortunately, he passed away. He had cancer while he was working with me. So I actually had to take on a lot of that myself as I was going through. I didn't write the budget in the end or anything, but I had to do a lot of the explaining and communicating about the budget. So I have a lot of experience, 6 years of experience with the California Community College budget system. I understand where we are with the new funding formula as well as anybody understands where we are with the new funding formula. And I kind of feel akin to maybe how I can't project on how you feel, but here you are going along, doing the good work of basic skills, being innovative. You were doing the Chancellor's Office Vision of Success 2020 before it was a vision for success. And then a funding formula doesn't seem to support you. I mean, how does that happen? Here you are engaged in accelerated basic skills and other very solid metrics. So I'm sure that you've done a deep dive and you've looked at, how are we going to get these students to make sure that they fill out their Pell Grants and receive their Pell Grants, et cetera. So my experience has been primarily in the California system, and I've had some tough times, and we have had 2 years of balanced budget with slightly more than a 10% ongoing reserves. And we're meeting our unfunded liability as well, our OPEB.
And the last structured question is, tell us about a time that you failed, and how did you rebound?
Well, there's a saying that there's lots of sayings, but those of us, if you're going to get ahead, have a full professional life, you need to learn early, and the earlier the better. And we can learn this, dear students, through things like theater or things like athletics, that you're going to fail and you're going to get up again and you're going to be okay. So, failures. I wish that I had developed more of a consensus with my trustees on some of the more controversial topics that we had. In the end, we were there in consensus. I did speak with my trustees, so I'm speaking about things like, should we or should we not go out for a bond in 2016? All signs are favorable that it will be a good time for Monterey Peninsula College to go out for a bond. We already went out for a bond in 2002. We were at the end of that bond measure, sort of like Measure B here, and then you went out again with Measure A. So there was lots of concern in the Monterey region and community leaders that the college was actually going to go out for a new bond, before the other bond was completely, totally spent down. Obviously, this district knows that you, and usually should, stagger your facilities needs. Don't stop. We have a huge student services need in our student services facility. So I wish that I had done more groundwork with my trustees earlier to try to help build that consensus. In the end, we didn't go out for a bond. And so I don't know if it was so much of a failure. I guess it was a success in listening deeply and allowing others to play the role that they played. But the college really needed a bond. We didn't go out. So I don't know if it's a failure. My failure is that I think I could have convinced them if I had convinced them. I could have brought them more engaged with me in this and helped them bring to the table their wisdom, their responsibility, but to hear from others earlier. They didn't have enough time, and at that point, we weren't successful. So we didn't go out for a bond, and I think only 2 bonds in the state failed that year. So that was a big one.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now we'll move to the audience questions. So again, you can move right to the microphone and you can begin to ask your questions. And again, don't be shy. You can line up along the side and Dr. Tribley will answer as best he can, and I'll turn it over to him.
First non-shy person again. You guys are going to get bored of me. Hello, my name's Frances Donesco. I run the community education program here on campus, and I just would like your ideas and input on around contracting fee-based education in the community college system.
Okay, fee-based education. Well, that is my opinion is that it's an important part of the way community colleges will remain community colleges. Really important. So as I'm sure you know, I divide that in my mind artificially just so I can speak about it in venues like this. The type of fee-based education that we might be doing for businesses to help a business, contract with a corporation to help provide a skill set for a group of workers and moving forward. And also fee-based education for personal enrichment. We're not getting any younger in our nation, and while the state did need to, I believe, restructure how it funds lifelong learning. I mean, that water is so far under the bridge, but I would hope that they didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are other states that address that differently, allowed the two to cohabitate without it draining that much. But where we are now, fee-based education is a wonderful tool for the college, for both Las Positas and Chabot, to maintain relevancy. I know we have a board priority to have relevant curriculum, but you tend to think about that as workplace curriculum, transfer curriculum, basic skills, as we should. But also we need to be really hyper-flexible and fast and quick, and that's the type of thing you can do with fee-based education. So I'm a real strong proponent of it. I think it's really wise. We have to review it in our accreditation the same way. We have to take a look at it and make sure we have meeting our outcomes. But I'm a big supporter of it. I think it's the way we keep community in community colleges, for sure. Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Tribley. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. My name is Julia Dozier. I'm an administrator at the district office. I'm concerned about you falling over, and I can't catch you.
No, that's okay. If I fall over, it'll be this. It'll be part of the.
Fall in that direction. Yes, that's. I'm a district administrator, and as you know, we have 2 colleges in this district, which can be challenging. And if you could talk to your experience with working with multi-college districts and how you fix it.
Okay, so thank you. I'll try not to fall. So my experience that approximates, but certainly doesn't equal, not in any way, it approximates. In my previous college, where I worked almost 11 years, Wenatchee Valley College, it's located geographically in Washington, about where Bend, Oregon is. As you know, it's that center of the state, just east of the Cascades, right off of Route 97. It has we refer to it as a campus, but it wasn't funded as a campus. It didn't have its own president, for example. But 90 miles north of the Wenatchee campus was the OMAC campus. And it's OMAC campus, OMAC, Washington, just south of the Canadian border and bordering the Colville Nations, First Peoples, with many tribes, at least 5 different tribes in the Colville Nation. A completely different, and needing to be a completely different college almost in our same district. I mean, think of what you're doing in OMAC, Washington, and the needs of that community versus, you know, down the road and primarily agrarian, agriculture-based community. The demographics were different. Certainly, we didn't have that large Native American population to serve. And so, I guess what I'm saying is, I certainly understand that colleges need to have autonomy, that presidents, maybe hire qualified presidents, significant professionals that need to work with their constituents internally and externally in the community with their foundations and meet the needs of the community. And so we're going to be a family, and we're going to have separate needs and sometimes separate cultural needs. And so I guess, so my experience is I have a sensitivity towards it. I have a real experience with 2 separate campuses and 2 separate identities trying to be one district. And that's really what we need to do. Communication will be key. And in the end, we have to realize that we are a family. We're a professional family. And we can't have one half of us completely out of consensus with the other half of us. So if that's a guiding principle, that just means we need to roll our sleeves up, and we need to use all of those practices that you've learned, whether you learned it in interest-based bargaining or mutual interest bargaining, or you learned it in communication classes. We have to listen truly to each other with the intent to understand each other, not with the intent of, I hope they get done so I can get my point across. We have to understand each other's needs. We have to be real fair. When I walked into the interview room, this is a balanced, healthy process. Academic Senate president from one college, you know, the balance right across from both colleges down, it was a very healthy image and portrayal of this district. So I would like to continue that. I don't think I have to reinvent the wheel. Thank you. Yep.
Good morning. I'm Don Carlson. I'm one of the academic services deans here at the college. And my question is what work have you done with the LGBT community in education?
Thank you so much. Regarding the LGBT community in education, actually for a while I sat every once in a while as a surrogate advisor when the advisor couldn't attend up in Washington, when the faculty advisor couldn't attend. On our campus, I just make sure that the environment, the learning conditions and working conditions are as safe for our LGBTQ community, that for all of our students. Some of the things we've done, I mean, it's just kind of embarrassing that we would be saying this now. Now, you know, we should have had this right 100 years ago, but from signage on our restrooms to safe space on campus. I mean, not just using that generically, but, you know, designating a safe space. Making sure the trainings that we always have a diversity speaker at least once a year with our college, and many times it has been a representative of the LGBTQ community. So a sensitivity towards an understanding of build it into our next facilities bond would be very strongly creating new. We're trying to retrofit a campus that doesn't have all of the restrooms that it needs to have, so we've got that in there. Training for our students, faculty, and staff. And that's the way we've approached it. I will say that I feel like it dovetails into the Title IX work that we've done. And we've published just this last fall, I made sure we published our first Title IX handbook. We take Title IX and following Title IX regulations very, very seriously, and have taken action at our college to make sure that we have a safe learning environment.
Hi, I'm Victoria Lacknett. I'm a student. And I don't know how much you know about what's been going on here in the past few years, but since I've been here, there's been a lot of health concerns from the students. Fall of 2017, there was an active shooter scare on campus, and we were put on lockdown, and the police had to come and everything. And after that, everyone still had to go to class, even though they were really distraught and in a really emotional state. And just a few weeks ago, there was an insane amount of smoke on campus, and the school, well, the district, took its dear sweet time trying to shut down the campus and make sure that the students' health wasn't at risk. And there was a petition going around to try and shut down the school because students were concerned for their health. So my question to you is, how will you ensure that students' voices will be heard in the future?
Okay, thank you. It's a great question. So we ensure that students' voices are heard exactly like you're doing today, making sure that your students are invited to important forums like you are here, are given a voice as we did just now. I'm sure that throughout your shared governance structure you have seats for probably your student senators to be part of those committees. All too often we see that those seats sometimes are empty, don't we? And we want to make sure that our students are. So depending on your shared governance structure, that's usually at least one seat for a student to be there. So your question, you created a strong and important context for your question. Your question about how we ensure the student voice is heard. Your student government, as you have here, is really, really important. It's not just a way for your voice to be heard. It's the way that Las Positas College provides an opportunity for you to learn about leadership, governance, making mistakes, recovering from those mistakes. You have a voice through, obviously, forums like this, through your participatory governance, through your president, your student body president, and leadership, and then your student trustee. And you always can write letters in, etc. You brought up some tough issues. Nobody in this room has an answer for active shooters coming on our beautifully open and horribly difficult to secure campuses. We don't live and work in forts. We live and work in facilities that people out here have created to try to inspire openness and freedom. And active shooters steal that from us. And I know that the good people in this room are to do anything they can to protect you. Anything they can. They also know that shutting down class causes all kinds of problems for your degree and collecting apportionment, etc. So sometimes those decisions may appear to take quite a long time. But they're complicated. They do have extensions. So anyway, thank you so much for your question today.
Hi, I'm Tina Inzarella. I'm library coordinator at Las Positas College, and I'm also vice president in Academic Senate, and I'm at-large member for the Faculty Association. So a student had requested that I ask this question, and she would like to know, how do you define student success when investing in learning communities like Umoja and Puente?
So on our campus we don't have either of those programs. We certainly have our Black Student Union and we have our Latino Student Club, actually for a very long and very successful period of time. So student success through that lens, I think, putting it in that context, it's important for our students to feel not just included, but empowered when they're here. I made a reference to how the facilities are supposed to inspire. How can our students learn if they don't feel fully free? If they feel restrained, if they don't feel that they have to somehow play down or somehow play close versus expressing themselves and expressing themselves fully? How can they take risks in speech class or in a gender and women's studies class or ethnic studies class if the whole campus doesn't seem to be a friendly place? So those programs are so very important. We do have our clubs and are very highly attended and very strong at Monterey Peninsula College. those programs are culturally sensitive. I see them also as ways to help ensure that our students feel ready to learn. You know, they just open up. You just cannot learn unless you are willing to take risks. And you're not going to take risks unless you feel safe and happy and joy. And those programs help provide that. That's one thing that they do. They do so much good work for our students.
Hello, my name is Jeff Drew, and I'm the athletic director at Chabot College and the vice president of the Faculty Association for Chabot College. So our question is, we are starting faculty contract negotiations. Please describe your efforts and experience at Monterey Peninsula College in reaching a timely, fair, and equitable faculty contract.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Your question does restrict my response to Monterey. I'm going to deviate from that. I'll definitely start there, but I also have experience in Wenatchee Valley College, which is a labor-friendly state where we have the Association of Higher Education and work there as well. So my experience for the last 6 years negotiating with our faculty union has, we've had some successes. As I shared with you, we were facing a structural deficit. We couldn't keep pace with our sister colleges in terms of raises and compensation. That's been the big challenge. We've been able to provide them, but not at the rate that either I wanted or our faculty needed. So that has just been a real challenge. We just recently reached an agreement within the last month with our MPCTA. We tried to be creative in terms of the compensation metrics there. One of the things that we did, I'm not saying that this is what we would do at every district, but we had 27 steps in our salary schedule, and we worked on the number of steps it took for faculty to get to the top and reduce that. But my efforts have been sincere. We also had a district that if we had provided raises beyond what we could afford, that it would have put the district into an insolvent situation. So that was sort of the rock and the hard place that we've been operating. But we did just close a deal with our MPCTA. We're back at it in January negotiating with them. But it's always in good faith and with every intention to try to reach a deal. We've offered more than once interest-based bargaining as well, because we do that with our classified union. We think that's a really positive way for district and faculty to come together and work with each other.
Hi, Dr. Tribley. My name is David Rodriguez. I'm a research analyst in the Office of Research Planning and Institutional Effectiveness. So I have a two-part question, hopefully. So in your opinion, what are some of the key ways that the district and college can best support faculty and classified professionals in their distinct needs as they go on fulfilling their roles in support and furthering student success?
Okay. Well, I'm a big, through professional development, I mean, that's the way we do that to help them meet their needs to further student success. Here at this district, and certainly at Las Positas, you know, you're not starting this here. You obviously have such a strong program with the district with your CLIP and CLIMB programs for your classified staff. Those are very, very important types of things. So professional development is really, really key. It's important for faculty and for staff to learn from their peers, to learn what works for them, again, in a safe environment, to learn what they may adopt so that they can then help their students be as successful as possible. Many, many, many of our teachers were taught in a completely different classroom environment. They were taught sort of in this environment, right, where there was a person talking at our students, and our students went and they went home and they studied for that exam. And so the way that we need to teach in a culturally sensitive manner, in a way that embraces the students where they are, as community colleges should. We need to meet our students where they are. I'm not talking just geographically, but where they are. Will require constant attention. We call it sharpening the saw, the constant professional development. So I mean, that's going to take lots of different flavors and lots of different colors, depending on faculty, staff, and what's needed at the time.
Kind of started addressing the second point, which is, and what are some 2 or 3 things community college students face that the college can focus on? So what do they face?
I just make sure I heard you. That students face that college can focus on? Okay. So our students are as varied as there are human beings on the planet. So I'm going to talk about some of the challenges that are very, very common. You know, the day that Walt decides that we're going to have a biology exam at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, I've just crashed some single mom's morning because they have a child with a strep throat, and that really happened, and they're going to make a choice between their child and going to college. And these are our students. So our students not only come from socioeconomic disadvantaged backgrounds at times, they very often are first generation, where they, very, very often, and they don't have a culture of college going. They don't have the confidence innate that they're going to do well in college or even go to college. That's huge. You asked me a question about when I've failed, and I looked over at the students. You know, to have the confidence to come to college and fail, how hard is that for a first-generation student doesn't even know they should be here? So the things that we need to work on is to make sure that we address the needs of our most needy students. So I'll say from socioeconomic, cultural, we have to make sure there are places. We have to make sure our procedures are rich and steeped with diversity and equity as our lens, always, always, always. So we try to make sure that we populate our employee base, our teachers, our staff, our schools with a diverse look of our community so people feel that they're included, and definitely address our financial needs, get them the textbooks they need, get them the wraparound services they need. I really would like to know exactly how, because you didn't just admit English students because they had a 2.5 GPA. You had to have quite a bit of support wrapping around that award-winning work you did. So you already, I think, know how to do that, and you're doing it well here at Las Positas. Yes.
Good morning, Dr. Tribley. Thank you for being here. My name is Kenneth Cooper. I'm Executive Director of the Las Positas College Foundation. And you probably know that the district has fundraising operations through foundations at this campus, at Chabot, and through the district office itself. With all of those operations going on, can you talk a little bit about or share your thoughts about how you would create synergy for the different fundraising priorities? You also mentioned that culture of college going. What would you do to increase the culture of philanthropy in the district?
Okay, very good question. Well, I'm going to answer that question about philanthropy saying that both my wife and I are donors to our foundation. We have always done so, and that's one of the things we need to do as leaders. We need to demonstrate, and we sit on foundation boards. We need to demonstrate our belief in our college and our foundation personally with our gifts. I think that's one thing we do. That's like putting your shoes on in the morning. So I've had quite a lot of experience as a community college administrator in fundraising, going back to Wenatchee, involved in 2 successful fundraising campaigns, one called Nurses for Tomorrow, where we raised $2.1 million for our nursing program, some of that to facilities, some of that for pilot 2 new faculty to start a spring cohort of nurses, and some of that for equipment. And then we used that to leverage money from the state for a $25+ million building. You know, we hired an architect to do the initial design. The other was for a music and arts center, where we raised money that was, again, seed money that we can get dollars from the state to help us build a music and arts center. It was very important in Wenatchee, very geographically isolated, 10,000 square mile service district, and we were supposed to be the cultural center for 10,000 square miles, and we didn't have a music or art building, so we built that. At Monterey Peninsula College, when I joined, until now, the base of the foundation, I'm working very closely with Becky Michael, you may know her, as our Vice President of Advancement. We've doubled the size of the holdings of the Monterey Peninsula College Foundation while we're not just raising money to put in the bank, while at the same time we've given almost 100% more in the last 6 years back to our students, faculty, and staff. So the synergy it's the excitement of giving. The synergy is to make sure that we make it important. The synergy is that our foundations are not forgotten partners. They're front and center partners. You believe in us so much. They're the mirror that tell you that what you're doing is important, and here's our dollars to say so. So you're partners with us, and so the synergy, I think, comes down to people. It comes down to believing in the college, believing in the two different foundations, and making sure that they're included, part of our work, and celebrated. Make ourselves available. I remember one fundraiser saying, I couldn't get the president to dedicate time to the fundraising campaign. I mean, you know, hey, we're at your service. If you're raising money for us, we're there to help you. So I have a lot of experience with it. I enjoy it, actually. It's really a fun part of what we do. So thank you.
Okay, this time it's my question. So what motivates you to invest in the library?
Motivates me to invest in the library, besides the fact that my mother worked in the library. And there's a bench remembering my mother outside of the library where she worked, Northport Public Library in New York. Libraries are really great places. How many of you have seen the new show? The show that's been out, the superhero show where the librarians are the superheroes. There's really a show, right? Yeah. Yeah, see? Yeah. Libraries are no longer museums for books. They're not. They're maker spaces, really, right? And they are sort of in one building a cross-section of what we do in higher education. It's a jump-off point to the world. It's like the World Wide Web in a structure. So I support libraries because they are places that's, in our campus, the library is the most populated building by students, more than the student center. They're coming to the library. Probably has a lot to do with that cafe that's right next door. And they can talk on one level where there's couches and the other level is quiet. It's a very inviting, beautiful library. So it's a place where students go to learn outside of the classroom. That's the prime. And they learn from each other and they connect with each other. To your question about our programs like Puente and Memoji, those programs are places for students to connect with each other and their faculty advisors. Really, really important. So libraries create that informal learning space, which is something we definitely need to support. So.
We have about 4 or 5 minutes left, so we can probably won't get to this whole line, but at least 2, or maybe we'll get to the student as well. So just, I'd say we'll try to. We might get to that one that's a student.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. My name is Zara Nouri Waziri. I'm facility specialist working from district office. I have 2 questions. I'm not sure if I should ask 2 or 1 because of the time. So my first question is, please provide your long-term goals for the next 5 years for our district. So what's, yes.
Okay, so long-term goals for the next 5 years for this district. I am going to go back to something I said earlier, that I'm not interviewing today with a personal set of points or agenda items that I want to see happen. So my goals would be definitely, so with that being said, we do need to respond to the new funding formula. We have STIRS and PERS that are increasing, PERS increasing just over 6% by the year 21-22. STIRS increasing just under 3% by the year 21-22. Unfunded liabilities for our retirees climbing, and a new funding formula that hits Chabot Las Positas at about 7%, almost the same it hits Monterey Peninsula College. But we've got this. We've got this. We can do it together. So one goal will be that we maintain the strong fiscal situation, the strong fiscal leadership and management that this college has. And we're going to have to be creative to do it, but we can. So that's one. I seek first to understand. I need to understand the district and I need to support it. Doesn't mean it's going to be a year of sitting and listening. We're going to have to, I'm going to definitely hit the ground running. But that hitting the ground running means hitting the ground listening and learning as to what are the issues. How is the division of resources? Your fabulously articulated division of resources comes from the state. So much goes to the district, so much goes to maintenance and operations, so much goes to Chabot, and so much goes to Las Positas. That model just got turned on its head because we're not just looking at FTS at each of the college. Now we're looking at FTS and student outcomes and how many Pell Grants, and at the bottom, not just disseminating money based on FTS, but at the bottom of the flow of your wonderful, in your budget, your adopted budget, you show how you allocate resources. So we're going to have to adjust to that, and we're going to maintain our innovation, our cutting edge. Let's go continue to get those regional and state awards, those 29 stars that this district got in your workforce program. So I want to continue the momentum, keep us a healthy district, negotiate in good faith and in earnest with our faculty and our classified partners, and do what we can for our students. Keep them in mind, always students first. So I don't have maybe 5 goals, but I know the way I'm going to work. Certainly fiscal solvency has to be there for us because the state just made it law that they're going to change the way they fund us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if I have the time for the second question, but I'm going to go ahead.
If you can move on, then we can at least get to the next.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Maria again, buyer from the district. And my question is, well, many times you have mentioned about how our college is very innovative. So personally and as a chancellor, how would you continue to foster innovation and continuous improvement in our college?
Well, you know, the fact that it's important to me, it's been a part of my, so the question is about how will I foster innovation? We foster innovation by creating, certainly through professional development, by making sure that our faculty and staff are not only learning from others around the state and nation, but are presenting to others around the state and nation. That brings in innovation to us, it brings notoriety to us. So I come from a pretty rigorous science background where I actually worked in biotech industry, so I'm quite used to being in a discipline that is right out, you know, out there and it's changing all the time. Well, here's one that I think you're ready for, and I know I said I came here with, I'm not going to push anything on you, but I don't know, does this sound like, do you think that Las Positas is ready to go to their K-12 partners and say, you know, we know how to do accelerated basic skills. We also know that K-12 society has put every social job on your shoulders. What do you say that by 2025, every high school student graduates college ready in math, college ready in English? Well, that's innovation. You're ready for that. You're so ready for that. That's a big goal. And there's lots of students that may not make it because of physical issues, etc. But that's a goal we're ready for. You have 288, you have AB 288, you can be out in those schools. You can embrace those high school faculty in your departments. You know how to teach basic skills better than anybody. So that's an example. Having wildly inspirational goals, whether it's that one or something else. So that's one way that I would foster it. And our cabinet, or whatever it's referred to here, or our vice chancellors, or our academic senate, or our unions, they think innovatively too, out of the box. And that's where it starts. We have to have, please trust this one, a playful culture. Playful cultures are accepting of people taking risks and making mistakes. What if you invited all of those high school students in with a 2.5 GPA and 40% of them passed instead of 76% of them passed? Still you took the risk. If you were not willing to take the risk, if you felt like you were going to fail and then internally you would attack each other, nobody would take a risk. But you take risks. So my innovation would be, my culture of innovation I think joins yours. So we do it by helping you have the wildly inspirational goals that students feel safe here, wherever they are, in any building, in any part of our, or online. So that's one response. Yes, ma'am.
Is there time?
Sure.
Okay, all right.
I want the students to have a chance.
Thank you, I appreciate that. My name is Emily Forshin. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Express, the student newspaper here. And I was just wondering what your experience is working with student press and what you think its role is on a campus.
Well, thank you. My experience is that I certainly have given interviews to student reporters. When they come to me, I see that our role, student for a non-student as well, we're an educational institution. We're not making widgets or things. So it's your responsibility. You know, we always want to think, you know, students are the ones that always learn. But we learn from you. We're inspired by you. Where do you want to take journalism? Where do you want to take journalism in the United States of America right now? Journalism is, frankly, under attack. Some of the attacks are not unwarranted. I mean, you got to get a journalist from this one to have that point, this agency to have one point of view, that agency to another point of view. What do you want journalists to be? I want my student journalists to be, if you invite a graduate of Chabot Las Positas College that has experience as a writer, and you invite that person into a tough, challenging room, what's going to be reported out of that room is as close to the truth as possible. So one of the things I do is I value it. I strongly value it. I certainly have given interviews to it. And then I think of us as teachers. We're always teaching. So I think it's a great learning experience. For you now, learning the craft of writing a story and how you put the story together, but in a bigger picture, because we're not done with you just here at this college. You have to go change the world. And journalism needs you. So I think we can inspire each other.
Thank you so much for your open questions. And if you'll just hang on for a minute, I'm going to give some instruction, then you can give a closing remark, okay? So I want to turn your attention back again to the comment form. So you're going to choose either the paper or the online response. And if you are choosing the paper, then you'll fill it out here and give it to our ACCT consultant, who's there in the back room with his hand up in a big yellow envelope. And if you choose the online version, you need to finish that online version by Thursday at 5 p.m. So now we would like to allow you some time to make some closing comments.
All right, thank you so much. Well, you have been a very engaged and wonderful audience today. Thank you for your questions, and especially for your very challenging questions. Actually, isn't that an example when we have a student ask some challenging questions of a healthy environment, right? So the only thing I can say is, given my experiences at a California community college and otherwise with fundraising, with bonds, I know that we have a beautiful new Measure A bond, relatively new, to decide as to how it's going to help us invigorate the work that we do, and you're well on your way to using those bond funds. I've refinanced our bonds. I came in towards the end twice. We saved our taxpayers $30 million because of that. I have experience with our accrediting commission and helping our college do some pretty strong things there. Experience with our shared governance and our collective bargaining process. I think I can hit the ground running with you. I promise I'm not coming in with a preconceived idea. I promise I'm not coming in with all these ways that you need to change. But I'm also coming in with the idea that there are some challenges ahead for us, mostly in the area of finance. That's primarily where they are. And that in the end, we all need to stand strong together with a strong district that is fiscally solvent, because that's the only way we're going to be able to move wages forward, our students forward, and serve our communities with relevant and excellent curriculum. So with that being said, you've just been an absolutely delight for me to meet you today, and thank you so much for coming out and your interest in this process to pick your next chancellor. Best wishes.